Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of voice for radio. So today we need to do that thing we do, where we go and ask which set should you be focusing on, which set should be getting your attention right now. And we're going to be looking at the most recently released set, that is of course Obsidian Flames. We're going to be looking at the next main set which is coming out, that is to say Paradox Rift. And we're going to be taking a look at Scarlet and Violet 151, the new special set which has just come out and is getting a lot of hype and a lot of love right now. And we're going to start off with Obsidian Flames because I think I can do this one pretty quickly. It's number 3 on the list. And it's not because I don't think Obsidian Flames is a good set. I absolutely do think Obsidian Flames is a good set. But I think Paradox Rift is going to be the best set in terms of playability and shaking up the meta that we've seen in a long time. And I think that Scarlet and Violet 151 might legitimately be the best set we've ever seen. It's so cool. I mean, I've got a lot of nostalgia for Gen 1, which does help to explain it, but make no mistake about it, 151 is special. And I think Obsidian Flames is a very good, ordinary, everyday run-of-the-mill set. And that is not an insult. Not every set is going to be truly special, and I don't think Obsidian Flames is truly special. Certainly in terms of the best cards in the set, like we start off with the special illustration rare Charizard. Now this is a phenomenal Akira Igawa artwork, and I'm in love with the artwork, but it's a Charizard. It's the best card in the set value-wise by a mile, and it's like a $70 card. And then, like, number 2 is a gold Charizard at less than $30. And then number 3 is a full art Charizard at less than $25. And then number 4 is regular Charizard, which is like $20. And then number 5 is the special illustration rare Pidgeot at like $10. That's the kind of set we're looking at. And part of the explanation here is very simply the fact that this is made up of a single Japanese set. A lot of the time, most of the time, we have 2 or 3 Japanese sets. Paradox Rift is made up of 3 that will make up an English set. Which means we have, like, a lot more secret rares, a lot more special illustration rares, etc. But reality is there's 12 illustration rares. There's 6 special illustration rares in the entire set. And that's why. Because even the cards like Charizard that are the special illustration rares that you want, the pull rates are so much higher because it's based on a single Japanese set. And then you come down to what you're really looking for. Now, if we have a look at Scarlet and Violet 151, I've told you this might be the best set ever in a number of different ways, and I believe it very sincerely. It is a special set. It is a very nice set. It is a set which is really just celebrating Gen 1. Like, all of the cards are from Gen 1. And not only that, but they've all got their Pokédex number. Like Blastoise is card number 9, which is adorable. Porygon is card number 137, because its Pokédex number is 137. It's brilliant. But then you've got really cool things like, you know, look at the Blastoise illustration rare line. The fact that they make a picture, all 3 of them in a row, which is lovely. And then, of course, you've got a Charizard special illustration rare, which is a very big deal. But then you've got stuff like Erica's Invitation. And you've got stuff like Zapdos. And you've got stuff like the Blastoise that I showed you a minute ago. And, you know, it's not all about value, let's be clear. But one of the ways you can tell about how hyped a card is and how hyped a set is by looking at the value. And quite frankly, Charizard EX is well above the Charizard and Obsidian Flames, but then you've got these other cards I mentioned, and ones like Alakazam, which are also holding on quite nicely, because it's a very cool set with a lot of very, very cool cards in. You know, in terms of playability, if we have a look at Obsidian Flames for a second, that brought in Charizard, which is a very good deck, probably one of the best decks in the format, which is awesome, and then outside of that, it did show Pidgeot, which is very, very good, and that is actually being played with Charizard, to be fair, and seeing a bunch of play. But then outside of that, you're looking at things like Town Store, which lets you search for tools, which is really kind of making an issue. And I'm not saying 151 is the most playable set ever, but I am saying there's a lot in here. You know, you've got the Ditto, which I still contend is phenomenal. Lets you basically swap it on your first turn of the game for any other basic Pokemon, which is great. But then you've got the Zapdos, which is going to be like an instant one-of in every Lightning deck. And then you've got Mew, and I sincerely believe Mew is going to prove to be one of the best cards in the format. Free Retreat's a nice handy bonus, but you've got yourself an amazing ability, lets you draw till you've got 3 cards in your hand, and you've got an amazing attack that for free colorless energy lets you copy any attack on the defending Pokemon, which is clearly a very good thing. And that's before you get into things like safety goggles that take away weakness on a basic, or Cycling Road that lets you discard an energy and draw a card, or Energy Sticker that lets you potentially accelerate an energy from your discard pile. Those are your kind of fringe trainers that are going to see a bit of play here and there, and they're coming in after a bunch of other stuff. And then if you want fun rogue decks, 151 is amazing. You know, Wigglytuff, I think, could be a very fun rogue deck. Blastoise could be a very fun rogue deck. And let's not forget about Electrode, Snorlax, Leftovers. Snorlax lets you get leftovers from the discard pile, and then Electrode lets you discard tools to do a bunch of damage, and then Snorlax gets them back next turn, and round we go. It's a very fun deck. And then, of course, the one thing that 151 has really got here is the nostalgia factor. When you open a pack of 151, every card is from Gen 1. It's a Kanto Pokemon. And that means that every pack you open is going to feel special if you've got that nostalgia for Gen 1. And I do think that that is an important caveat when we're talking about which of these sets you should be focusing on, because if you really like Gen 1, and I've made no secret of the fact that I do really like Gen 1, then I do think that basically makes you look at 151 and go, oh yeah, no, that's amazing. That's absolutely stunning. That's brilliant. And I think outside of that, if you're not a big Gen 1 fan, maybe 151 is not going to be as good, but I think 151 is special. Certainly for casual collectors, people that want to open cool cards, 151 is it. Like even the artwork rares, you're busting out things like Squirtle and Charmander. And Pikachu's coming out here, and you're just getting all of these Pokemon that you recognize from when you were a kid, which, again, I do think is fantastic and special and brilliant. And then we get to Paradox Rift, and I strongly believe that Paradox Rift is going to prove to be, in terms of playability and in terms of the metagame and in terms of actually playing the Pokemon trading card game, this is going to be the one that shakes it up. This is going to be the set where everything basically changes. It could be the most impactful set we've seen in many years, and I don't exaggerate when I say that. This one is going to be huge. I mean, we've got Ancient and Future Pokemon coming, like Iron Valiant and Roaring Moon. Incidentally, both of them look absolutely phenomenal. But then you got stuff like Iron Hands coming in. Iron Hands takes an extra prize when it takes a KO, and it does 120 for 4 energy. But then you've also got the Future Boost Energy Capsule that lets you do an extra 20 damage while giving free retreat. And also remember Iron Valiant's ability that drops damage counters when you get into the active. So being able to free retreat is going to be absolutely huge. And then you got stuff like Sandy Shocks that accelerates energy to itself, which seems pretty gosh darn good. And Sliverwing, which does very nice damage for very low energy, 2 energy, and you're busting out, 140? Potentially. That is a lot of damage to do very, very quickly. Professor Turo just lets you pick up one of your Pokemon. That's kind of ridiculous. You've got a new Professor Sada card that lets you accelerate energy to 2 ancient Pokemon, which is going to be great. We've got a tool that lets you discard a card from your hand and search out 2 future Pokemon, which is potentially absolutely ridiculous. And it just keeps going. But Sliverwing is clearly 120, not 140. I apologize. And then we got things like the TMs coming along. And one of them can evolve 2 of your Pokemon. And one of them can devolve all of your opponent's Pokemon by a stage. They're attacks that fall off at the end of your turn as tools. But you put them on and use them immediately. And in terms of the metagame impact, this is going to be big. Obviously, if you're into the whole Paradox Pokemon thing, then these are going to be phenomenal sets. But it's not even all about that. I mean, the cards I've just shown you are the Ancient and Future cards from Future Flash and Ancient Raw, but also Raging Surf is going to make up a big part of this set, and we've seen the whole of Raging Surf at this point, and you've got ridiculous cards like the Goldengo, which I'm convinced is going to be phenomenal, and has an amazing special illustration rare. That's the one whereby you draw a card, but if it's active, you draw two, and you can discard as many basic energies you like during your turn for one energy and deal 50 for each one discarded, which is ridiculous. We've got a Jirachi coming, which stops people dropping damage counters, which is blatantly a really over-the-top Sableye counter, but you know what? We need a Sableye counter. So having a really over-the-top Sableye counter actually sounds like a wonderful, wonderful thing to me. And the point I'm making about Paradox... Oh, so check out the Parasol Lady. Come on, look how great this is. And the point I'm making about this set, very simply, is there is so much in this set which is going to impact the metagame and have a big impact in terms of what we're playing. And that is going to be great. So really, I think the question here comes down to... Oh, and check out the Tapu Koko. Just look how great the Tapu Koko is for a second. Sorry, I got distracted. Right, I think when it comes down to these three sets, the real question essentially is, are you a big fanboy of 151? Or as in Gen 1, or are you looking to really play the game and shake up the metagame? Because I don't think the answer here is Obsidian Flames, and I'm sorry if that sounds mean. The answer essentially is, if you want to collect cool cards based on Gen 1, then it's 151. Although again, there are a bunch of decent metagame cards in there. If you are interested in the Pokemon TCG as a playable game, and you're looking for a set which is going to shake things up, and especially if you're a fan of these Paradox Pokemon, then that's where Paradox Rift is going to be the one you want to be focusing on. Right, there we go. There's your answer. And now it's over to you guys. Tell me which of these three sets you're looking forward to. Tell me anything you want to tell me in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and card games and Pokemon card games, all kinds of fun things. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. And get shoutouts on the channel like the lovely Evan Parker, who's been a supporter of ours for a while now and is a very lovely person. So shout out to them for the support and the loveliness. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.